Welcome to the Introduction to Freshwater Fishing presentation. My name is Dana Kopek, the Technical Assistant for the Aquatic Resource Education Program here at the Division of Fish and Wildlife. Instead of reading the slides word for word, I'm going to narrate over them. So if you need to pause the presentation at any time to read the slides, please feel free to do so. In this course outline is a list of all the different topics we'll be going over today. When planning for a fishing trip, there are many things to consider, like safety, first and foremost, weather, will it be dark when you arrive or leave, do you plan to fish from the shore, in the water, or on some sort of boat, how long will you be there, and what specific needs does each person in your party have. In addition to the generic items in the previous slide, you will also need all of your fishing gear. A fishing license is required for anyone age 15 or older who plans to fish in freshwater, and 16 and older for saltwater. There are a few exceptions though, and those can be found in the Rhode Island Saltwater Fishing Regulations Abstract and the Rhode Island Freshwater Fishing Regulations Abstract. Simply search for these on an internet browser and you will find PDF versions to download or view online. New ones come out each year. Of course, you will need a rod and reel. There are several different kinds which we will discuss in some later slides. Fishing line, hooks, bobbers and sinkers, bait, which is like live worms or squid, and lures, which are artificial, scissors or clippers for cutting line, needle nose pliers or hemostats for removing hooks from fish, a tape measure to make sure your fish is within regulation size if you plan to keep it, and a tackle box to keep all of your gear in. As with any activity, safety should always be your first priority so you can enjoy a pleasant outing. Running is a risky activity when near water, as you could easily fall in. Oftentimes the water is much cooler than the air and could cause you to get injured from being too cold. It is also risky to run with a rod that has a hook attached to the line. To avoid a potential hook injury, keep your rod in one hand and your line with the hook in your other hand and walk from location to location. This will prevent the line from swinging freely with the hook that could potentially injure you or someone around you. Before you swing your rod backwards to cast, look behind you to make sure no one is there. Also, if you are walking behind someone who is fishing, call out "behind you" so they know you are there. When handling fish, which we will discuss in more detail a bit later, be careful of how you hold them. Some fish, like bluegill, have sharp spines that can hurt you if you run your hand down them the wrong way. It is also a good idea, if you catch a fish, to keep it in the water until an adult can come and help you handle it and remove the hook. Make sure you keep the line tight so the fish cannot swim away. Rods are the rigid frame that hold the fishing line and reel. They provide a handle to grip as well. There are many different types and sizes, so here are a few things you should know before you choose one. First, there are freshwater rods and saltwater rods. The saltwater are usually larger in diameter and longer. They are built bigger to handle stronger saltwater fish species. Past this, rods are further divided into bait casting, spin, or fly. So depending on the type of reel you plan to attach, you will need a specific rod. Rods can be further divided into different flexes. When a fish is on and fighting, the rod will bend as you reel it in. The more flex, the bigger and stronger the fish it can handle. Typically, there are 3 categories: light, medium, and heavy. If you are a beginner, the best advice I can give you is to go to a fishing store and talk to someone knowledgeable who can help you pick out the best rod and reel for your needs. Whatever rod you choose should be comfortable for you to hold, so choose one with a handle that you like. The guides or eyes on the rod are important to help keep the line straight and avoid tangling. It's very easy to miss these guides as you prep your rod, so do a double check before you start fishing. You may see other anglers attach their hook to one of the guides when they are finished. It is important to only attach your hook to the side braces of the guide and not the guide itself to avoid damaging it. As mentioned earlier, there are several different types of reels that hold the majority of the line. The 2 presented on this slide are spin reels, which would be used with a spin rod. They are both great choices for beginners as they are easy to use, spin casting being the easiest of the 2. Next we have a fly reel, which is used with a fly rod. This is a totally different fishing experience than the others shown. Typically for spin or bait cast, the weight of the bait or lure is what helps to propel the line out, but with fly fishing, it's the weight of the line. Also, casting and reeling in is very different. We will go over fly fishing a little later on. Lastly, we're going to cover bait casting reels, which would be used with a bait cast rod. These require some skill and should be used by experienced anglers or with the help of an experienced angler, as the line can get tangled very easily if not handled properly. For most freshwater fishing, you can get away with monofilament line, which is inexpensive. You will only need braided if you plan to ice fish, saltwater fish, or fish for bass and other heavier fish. If using bait, you will need a hook to place it on. If using an artificial lure, they will typically come with hooks built in. Either way, you will need to understand the various types so you can make the best selection. Fishing knots are needed to attach hooks, flies, and lures to the line, to secure the line to the reel, and specifically for fly fishing, securing the line to the backing. Each need requires a different type of knot. We are going to go over the most common knots in the following videos. When it comes to bait, there are many options, especially for artificial lures. Natural bait is a great option for beginners, but can be difficult to keep alive and is messy and smelly. Artificial lures require knowing how to move them in the water to attract fish, and this skill is something that needs to be practiced. It also requires knowing what type of lure will attract what type of fish. As with most things, what type of tackle box you purchase will be dependent on what your needs are. Size. You can purchase a small clear organizer box or a big tackle backpack. If you plan to fish out of a kayak, you may want something on the small end. If you plan to fish from the shore and spend all day there, maybe a backpack or a traditional box is better suited for your needs. Storage. Some tackle boxes open up and have several layers of small compartments to keep gear in. Some have side pockets and others have slide-out clear boxes. It all depends on how much tackle you may need. Hard-sided versus soft-sided. Which one will depend on what conditions you're in. If the tackle box runs the risk of being tossed around, then a hard-sided one may be better. It is important to research the type of fish located in the body of water you will be fishing from. Knowing their natural diet as well as their habits and habitat can only help you be more successful. If fish are to be taken as part of the daily creel limit, they should be killed immediately and kept cool until they can be prepared for the table. If an angler wishes to release a live fish, either because it is undersized or because they are practicing catch and release, the following procedures are recommended. Land the fish as quickly as possible to minimize stress. Playing a fish to the point of exhaustion will lessen its chance for survival. Wet your hands before handling a fish. Dry hands will remove the fish's protective slime layer and leave the fish open to bacterial and fungal infections. Handle the fish carefully, do not use excessive force. Gently remove the hook to minimize damage. If you are intentionally practicing catch and release fishing, use artificial lures with single barbless hooks or circle hooks to minimize damage to the fish. Do not attempt to remove a hook that is deeply embedded into the gullet. Instead, cut the line off as close to the hook as possible and release. Return the fish to the water as quickly as possible. Lower it back into the water in an upright position and move it back and forth in the water to force water across its gills. Once the fish revives, allow it to swim away. The following are some, but not all, of the prohibited fishing activities in the state of Rhode Island. You must familiarize yourself with the comprehensive list in the Freshwater Fishing Abstract, as ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Fishing in any freshwater stream or pond without a valid fishing license. Fishing in any stream, designated trout stream, or trout pond out of season. See the Freshwater Fishing Abstract for dates. Possessing trout, salmon, or char out of season. Baiting with corn in any designated trout waters. Chumming in any designated trout waters. Chum is bait consisting of fish parts, bone, and blood which attract fish. Snagging fish in any fresh waters. Snagging is fishing with only a hook and no bait. Stocking any freshwater stream or pond, public or private, with any species of fish without first obtaining a permit from DEM. Using footwear with felt soles. Transport of any plant or plant part into or out of the state of Rhode Island on boats, vessels, or other water conveyances, vehicles, trailers, fishing supplies, or any other equipment, with the exception of authorized research activities, species identification, and other management activities. We are officially at the end of the presentation. Closing everything out is one of the most important slides, ethics. Success alone does not make a good angler, but being a conscientious person with solid character shapes the whole angler as a well-rounded individual. I leave you with these words of wisdom and wish you many years of success on the water.
On your way to the water, be sure to stop by the library, head to the children's department to pick up your laminated field guide to help you identify the fish that you catch.